Hi guys, it's me, Faye, here at Faye Desk, and I'm with Harmony,
Aww.
and we are in the temple, and today we're doing another video for the Bite-Sized Spirituality series, and we want to talk about reincarnation. But before we get started, Harmony has said that she did a video like this on her, was it your channel?
Basically I did a video on my Harmony Love channel. I think it was actually the first video that's on my channel, and lots of people got really offended by what I said. Now, that was just my opinion, and obviously what I'm sharing here is just my opinion too. I'm not saying it's factual, but it is just my opinion, and it's how I've kind of worked it out and processed it in my head for me to believe, you know, this, and for me to kind of go into detail with what I believe. So I don't want to cause offence to anybody. If you do totally disagree, that's absolutely fine, but I didn't want to kind of bring loads of hate over to Faye's channel if I said something that upset people. Because I don't mean it in a hateful, insulting way. It's just my opinion. So,
yeah, so it's just an opinion, so let's just like be grown up about it, be mature about it, and all that stuff. So, what are your personal views on reincarnation then?
I do believe in reincarnation. My personal view, and this is kind of, I'll try and sort of explain and also mention what offended people when I said it, so that you kind of get where I'm coming from. My personal view is that we reincarnate many, many times, and that we have a certain amount of lessons to learn before we can sort of finish and you know, maybe go somewhere else or whatever. I don't know what happens after that, you know, obviously. But I believe we reincarnate thousands and thousands of times, and each lifetime we have a certain amount of lessons to learn. Sometimes that takes us, you know, 95 years, sometimes it takes us 6 years. But to me, that's kind of how I process the idea of the fact that some lives are very short and some are very long, and that's kind of how I work out the idea of it being fair in my head, is that sometimes there aren't as many lessons to learn, but you had to be here, you know. Now, I also said in my previous video, and this is true, I do believe this, I said that I believe that our soul, or our essence, chooses what life to be born into. Now, when I say that, I'm saying from a soul point of view. So a soul being an ageless, you know, being like an ageless creation. So what I said last time was that I believe that you kind of choose what life to go into, and therefore you're never a victim. What I meant by that was, I personally believe that at some point we will all be rapists and murderers and paedophiles and horrible people. At some point we will all be victims of rape or, you know, molestation or something horrible. We will all be murdered. At some point we'll all be kings and queens. At some point we'll all be slaves, you know. At some point we will all experience everything. At some point we'll all be disabled, or, you know, we will experience everything. That's my personal opinion, and I believe that we have to experience everything to kind of learn those lessons. Now, when I said that last time, a lot of people got offended and said, well, I have a child with disabilities, you're telling me that my child chose that. Or they were saying, you know, babies that get molested, you're saying that that child is not a victim. That's not what I meant. I'm not saying that a child that gets molested is not a victim. I am saying that a soul that chooses to be born into a certain life is not a victim. Once that soul goes into a human being, the physical body and mind of that human being can very much be a victim. But I believe that it is kind of pre-chosen by that soul as to what's to happen. And even though, like I said, lots of not very nice things happen, I believe that we choose those things for ourselves on purpose to learn the lessons that we feel we have to get to a point where we can stop reincarnating and actually just be. That's what I personally believe. So, like I said, I don't want to bring loads of hate over here. If you don't agree with me, you don't have to, and that's fine. It's just my personal opinion, and I really hope I haven't offended anybody, because I really don't mean to.
Exactly. I think the world would be boring if we all had the same views on everything, wouldn't
I think people took it very offensively, because obviously if you have an illness, or you have a child with an illness, or have a child that has, or yourself has been through something terrible like rape or molestation, or, you know, you've had a child that was murdered or something like that, I think people took it very personally to say that I was saying that they chose that to happen to them. And whilst to a degree I was saying that their soul kind of chose the possibility that something like that may happen if they went into this family and into this life, yes, I was saying that. I'm certainly not saying that that child or that you or whoever it's happened to is not a victim once it's happened. Once you are a living human being, of course you're a victim. You're a victim to many things because you have a functioning brain and a life that you're kind of living out. But at the time that you are choosing these things for yourself, it's almost that your soul is on a different level and you aren't choosing based on how you're going to feel in this lifetime. You're choosing based on how you're going to feel overall throughout all of the different lives that you live. That's how I feel.
That's interesting. It's different. I've never really thought of it like that before. My personal view, like on reincarnation and rebirth, is I have the sort of like Buddhist and Hindu belief, like of karma and like the whole like universe and everything being like a spiral, and that's like karma, and how you are like in each life depends on how much closer you get to like nirvana or heaven or like enlightenment or whatever you want to call it. And that's how you have to have respect for everything and everyone, because you could be reborn like as a wasp or like as a bug or as like anything. Like you go back down. So if you're not a good person in this life, then obviously you're gonna slip back down. It's like snakes and ladders. You're gonna slip right back down to the bottom, sort of thing. And I know that there's that belief, whereas that like murderers and rapists and like people that be really bad in a previous life like get like reincarnated as like bugs or things that are right at the bottom of the sort of like scale food chain, yeah, that sort of thing. So I think it is a really nice idea as well, that you sort of think that this isn't just your one life, that this is like your only chance, that you can make mistakes and stuff, and that you actually have chances to build and like learn from that. And also it's nice to think that you wouldn't just be reborn as another human again, that you'd actually get to be like an animal or a tree or anything. It's quite interesting.
I definitely believe that you can be different things. I don't think you have to be human. The one thing I do disagree with what you were saying, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, it's just my personal opinion. For me, like I said, I believe that everything happens for a reason. So if in one particular lifetime you are a murderer, a lot of the time that will be based on psychological issues that you had from a baby onwards. Do you know what I mean? A lot, people don't tend to, not necessarily from the parents, but people don't tend to just become murderers for the sake of it a lot of the time, and people don't necessarily turn out to be evil or bad or do bad things for no reason. So a lot of the time I don't see that as like being solved by like a karmic thing, because like I said, to me, I think it's something that everybody kind of needs to experience. I'm not saying in this lifetime go out and kill somebody, but I think that if that is what you're doing, it was probably predestined that it was going to happen anyway. And also I kind of think that like if you murdered somebody and karma kind of took you back to being like a bug or something like that, I'm not sure that would really teach you not to murder people. Do you know what I mean? I know that sounds silly, but I'm not sure that, to me, if I needed to be taught not to do something, and the universe kind of thought, well, no, Harmony needs to do that again, and this time learn not to do that, then it would make more sense to put me kind of in the same situation or in a similar situation that I had to live out until I learned to do it right. Whereas if I was put into a totally different situation, then, I could be a murdering bug, but because I'm so tiny, I don't really get the chance. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I suppose so. But then I guess that's why you have. It wouldn't. I suppose most people don't just learn their lesson in one life. I suppose you progress. I guess that's the whole point.
Don't
you
get me
progress
wrong.
from there
I
and go
definitely believe in karma, but I believe in karma affecting you in each physical life that you have. I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. But I'm not sure I believe in karma affecting you during kind of like in between your lives, if that makes sense.
I just think it's very sort of like interesting I'd love to sort of, I don't know, I always think that my affinity like with like butterflies come from me being a butterfly like in a previous life. Like I don't remember or have any recollection, but that's always something that I've always sort of like thought, or have you ever like had any like recollection
do you know
of
what?
past
It's actually
lives,
really,
or...
really funny that you say that, because I think sometimes you can kind of liken people to certain creatures or to certain animals and stuff, and you are very much like a butterfly. I know this sounds ridiculous, but like, the first time I ever met Faye, and she still does this to this day, she will flip backwards and forwards through the rooms in my house looking at everything.
Oh yeah, I always do that.
And if she sees something, she will only stop when she sees something she likes, and then she'll sort of look at it for a few minutes, get as much information from that as she wants, and then she'll put it back down, and then she'll flip to something else. That's actually what butterflies do, isn't it? They like go from flower to flower to flower, and that's exactly what you do. You go from thing to thing to thing, like.
It's quite interesting.
And
so
you do that.
That's my butterfly coming out of me. That's quite interesting. I never really sort of thought of it.
And like some people do stuff like that.
That's true.
They do actually kind of resemble different animals or creatures or whatever. And you do just literally flip from different things that you find kind of attractive and pretty.
That is very true. Have you ever had like a past life recollection? No, I have. I'd love to though.
I wouldn't. I don't think I would. I quite like the fact that I never have. To me, I kind of think if you have them naturally, if you remember things naturally, then you're probably meant to. If you don't remember them naturally, then it's probably because you're not meant to, and you probably don't need to. So yeah, I've never like looked into it in any way, because I just sort of think if I don't remember anything, then I'm probably just not meant to.
No, that's true. But yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? Especially when, so obviously I know quite a lot of people can be quite like sceptical like about past lives and things like that. But you know, especially when you see like little children like who would have no way at all of being like influenced or being told, they're like just saying things.
There's so many documentaries
It's
on
really
YouTube
interesting, isn't it?
Like that, like my child lived before and stuff like that. Yeah.
And there's no way that they could be influenced or lie or anything like that. And it is so interesting because obviously that has happened to them, and it's so interesting to think that it's coming out in this lifetime. It is quite crazy when you think about it.
There is so many documentaries on YouTube. I get so addicted to them. I think it's amazing. But the thing that I see in those documentaries is that they always seem to be in pain. Like, they don't want to remember those things, or if they do remember those things, their parents and then like family seem really torn about it. And I think that's kind of why I feel quite glad that I don't have memories, is because I wouldn't want to have to kind of deal with this life at the same time as reliving an old one. Like, that doesn't seem very nice.
Yeah, I suppose so. But then I suppose sometimes like a blockage or something, or some trauma or something that you have in this life can be from a previous life, and sometimes you need to, I don't know, be able to understand what happened in a previous life to sort of help you clear and work through, I don't know, whatever issues you have in this life. So sometimes it can be really beneficial. I guess it just depends on the like person and the situation and like whatever, I suppose. I'd love to have a past life regression though. I'd be scared, but I think it would be really interesting.
I don't know. I wouldn't. No.
No.
I don't disagree with it for other people if that's what they want to do, but I personally wouldn't.
But yeah, no, we'd love to know what your thoughts are on reincarnation, and if you've had like any past lives that you remember, or if what your thoughts are like in general would be quite cool. Just so I don't know.
Just say like, what if you had like these memories suddenly come back to you, and it was like in your past life you were in love with this man and you told him that you would find him in every single lifetime forever.
Oh, I think
but
it's so
it
romantic.
wasn't James. Then what?
Oh,
and you had all of these memories of like you'd been with him for the past 4 lifetimes, whatever, this guy, and that you were supposed to find him again in this lifetime, but you can't because you're with James.
Imagine that would be
crazy, imagine that. It would be terrible.
I swear that sounds like such a good idea for like a story or something.
It would be awful.
But no, it would be like, it's interesting though. Yeah, it would be awful, but it's interesting.
Well, like, what if, what if you'd kind of had the same parents for like lifetime after, not necessarily look the same, but had the same kind of essence, had the same soul for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and then they weren't your parents this time? Would you want to go find them?
I don't know. There is that belief, isn't there, that your soul of like your loved ones and your family, your souls like travel together, isn't there?
Yeah,
like in the next lifetime. But
or like, what if your previous husband or lover was now your dad?
That's what they said. They say that can happen though, don't they? That like someone might not necessarily be your parents, but might end up being like a sibling or like an uncle or an aunt or something like that.
Could, but I would just like to make sure I didn't go back and revisit any hot shiz going on if that was now a parent.
Yeah, that would be quite.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be quite.
All of this is dangerous.
Yeah, that would be.
Think of all the therapy you'd need.
Yeah, it does sound like Freudian a little bit, doesn't it? But yeah, no, we will leave you with that thought.
Nice.
But we will see you in our next video. Bye.